Hi, Natasha here. Are you ready for a bedtime story? Tonight's sleep story is a gentle sea adventure into deep rest. Adjust your position until you feel completely comfortable and get cozy under your duvet. It's time to close your eyes and allow your body to sink into stillness. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale with a sigh, releasing any tension. Take another slow, deep breath in and big sigh. Feel your body become lighter and lighter. Your shoulders relax and your body sinks deeper and deeper into your bed. Your legs become heavy and your breath becomes slow and soft. In tonight's imaginative sleep story, we will drift slowly out to sea, carried away by calm waters. And we will explore a world of wonder just beneath the waves. Our story begins on a quiet afternoon, far from the shore, where the land disappears into the horizon and the blue sky merges with blue water. A small wooden boat floated lazily on the still open water. At the stern of the boat sat a fisherman. His posture was relaxed but steady, shaped by years at sea. His weathered hands were strong yet gentle, and held the worn wooden handle of his fishing rod. His eyes stayed fixed on the shifting water, and sometimes they even fell closed for a few minutes, before the fisherman shook himself awake once more. It was the waves, Joe told himself. The gentle lopping of the water at the side of the boat, coupled with the soporific movement of the ocean, meant that he inevitably felt the tug of sleep, and his eyes grew heavier and heavier. The breeze ruffled the brim of his old straw hat, and the salt air seemed to cling to his skin. There was a faint scent of bait and seaweed. To the opposite end of his small boat lay a young girl, his daughter Aurora. She often accompanied him on excursions, and she had grown up to be quite an independent and adventurous young girl. A dreamer. She felt very at ease at sea, and had begged him to take her with him this morning. Today, Aurora was resting in the hush of the calm ocean water. At this present moment, the engine was switched off, and they were simply drifting, just a little away from the shore, in a spot that was particularly good for fishing. Aurora lay on her back, her arms tucked lazily behind her head as she rested against the warm, sun-kissed curvature of the boat and used a rucksack as a pillow. Aurora had found the perfect spot, where an old fisherman's blanket had been spread over a pile of coiled rope and worn canvas. The blanket, faded by the sun, carried the faint scent of sea air. Beneath it, the layers of rope and sailcloth gave just enough support, forming a kind of makeshift bed that cradled her body as the boat rocked with the tide. The textures beneath her were uneven, but strangely comfortable. and as she lay her head on the little backpack that she had packed that contained an apple and some water, she felt pleasantly warmed by the afternoon sun. She shifted slightly and let her body sink into the support underneath her. Her limbs were starting to feel heavy and relaxed. She glanced over at her father and saw that he had nodded off, his eyes closed and his body slumped forwards, and she giggled at the funny sight. Her giggle seeped into his subconscious, and he awoke again with a jolt. Aurora dipped her fingers into the water. It was cool and smooth like silk, with sudden cold patches that sent tingles up her arm. The sea sloshed around her, and the sky stretched above her, and in the cradle of the boat, Aurora felt perfectly at peace, as if the boat itself was a hammock and was rocking her to sleep or into a deeply relaxed state. She had made the perfect nook for her to drift off to sleep in. As the sun moved across the sky, the sun became soft and golden and cast a warm light across her skin. A light breeze brushed her face as she lay there, and the salty scent of the sea filled her nostrils. Her eyes began to slow blink, and suddenly, without effort, they were closed. The boat continued to rock back and forth with a lilting gait, and Aurora was lulled into deep relaxation by the rhythm of the ocean. The movement soothed her and reminded her of being rocked to sleep as a baby. Below her, the deep water was calm but mysterious. Waves rippled against the side of the boat. Their gentle lapping sound was the only sound she heard. She liked to pretend that it was the ocean whispering a lullaby to her, singing her to sleep. Aurora closed her eyes and let the peaceful surroundings envelop her. She felt at one with nature all around her. Then something stirred in the water beside her. She opened her eyes just in time to see a group of dolphins mid-leap alongside the boat. Then they disappeared into the water beside her. She continued to watch, hoping that they would reappear. They did. Am I dreaming? She thought. Am I really seeing this? Rising from the water in playful arcs, they sent droplets of water flying like tiny crystals that sparkled in the sunlight. Their smooth grey skin glistened as the water glided over their smooth backs. They continued to swim back and forth, playing, leaping beside the boat, as though they were intrigued by her and her father. Aurora smiled. They were so close, closer than she had ever seen them before. One dolphin appeared nearby, catching her gaze, and for a moment it felt that she was actually looking deep into her soul. It seemed to look directly into her eyes. Then something else moved in the water, a green shimmer. It was much deeper down in the shadows of the greeny ocean water. Was it a fish? or just a trick of the light? Aurora leant over the side of the boat, curious about what she had caught sight of, and peered into the water with greater concentration. Something compelled her to get a better look, and she decided to slip into the water. She glanced at her father, still unmoving and engrossed in his fishing. Although he had woken up again, he still looked rather sleepy, and she thought to herself that she would be back before he realized she had even gone. And so Aurora swung her legs over the side of the boat, dipping her toes in the water. Still holding the side of the boat, she took a deep breath in, and then dived forwards like a seasoned swimmer and disappeared beneath the surface. The water welcomed her, and she felt the sensation of the cool and refreshing water on her skin. It wrapped around her body like a silk blanket, and her hair floated around her face as bubbles drifted past her ears. Her eyes were open and she saw everything clearly. She loved being in the water. She glanced around under the water to catch another glimpse of what she had seen from the surface, but she couldn't see anything. She had a feeling of being watched, however. There was a presence, a friendly one, in the water with her, and she was sure that she was not alone. Suddenly there was a flash of red to the side of her, and she jumped in surprise. She turned and twisted in the water to catch sight of the thing that had swum behind her. And then she realized that she needed to replenish her air. Aurora swam back to the surface to let her breath out and take a few slow, deep breaths before holding her breath once more and returning downwards below the surface. This time she could see it more clearly. Something swam and darted in front of her, and she could make out flashes of red and green and silver. She was confused by the sight because this being or creature seemed completely at home in the water, and yet was wearing clothing on its top half, whilst its bottom half of its body was long and slender, and it had a fin for a tail. Aurora blinked in awe through the blue water, her heart beating in a slow and steady rhythm in her chest. The figure moved closer to her, and its shape grew clearer. It had long hair that drifted like seaweed, its eyes bright as sunlight, even though there was minimal light down here. And it had a shimmering tail that glided effortlessly through the sea. The mermaid smiled. Her lips curved softly, and when she spoke, her voice rippled through the water like a melody. "Don't be afraid," she said in the sweetest, softest voice. Even though Aurora hadn't felt fear, only awe, she was still hesitant. The mermaid continued to speak. "You've entered a dream tide. Few come down here awake. Come with me. We don't have much time." The mermaid reached out her hand to Aurora. It was pale and shimmered with tiny scales that caught the light. Aurora hesitated before throwing caution to the wind and placing her hand in the mermaid's cool, silky palm. The touch of her hand sent a jolt of warmth through her body, and she felt a serene calm that seemed to settle deep in her chest. Her body began to feel heavy, and together they swam downwards, the mermaid leading the way with gentle tugs on her hand. The water grew cooler and darker, and soft ribbons of light appeared, spiraling around them like slow-moving fireflies. Aurora realized these lights were strange and wonderful sea creatures. After a while of being led downwards by the mermaid, they reached a settlement of sorts, and she saw 2 beautiful coral towers. There were a few buildings and rooms in the rock with colours that were stunning. Soft pinks, golds, and blues shimmered and formed an underwater palace of some kind. "Come, this way," the mermaid gestured. They entered the halls of the palace. Small fish darted past them, leaving trails of silver bubbles. Sea anemones waved lazily, Aurora's fingers brushing them as she drifted by. A great manta ray glided overhead like a silent cloud. The mermaid guided Aurora into a space or courtyard, where the hallway opened up to a roofless space and the seagrass swayed in wide, slow motions. In the centre stood a huge shell that sat open like a cradle, shimmering with an opal light at its middle. "Rest here," said the mermaid. "Let the sea hold you." As though knowing intuitively what she must do, Aurora settled into the shell. It was smooth and soft, and suddenly the faint hum of the ocean rumbled beneath her, syncing with her heartbeat. The mermaid began to hum in a low, soothing tone, which echoed through the water and filled Aurora with happiness. Her eyelids grew heavy, and slowly the glowing fish dimmed. The corals softened into dreamy shapes, and the light suddenly turned into dark. She felt herself drifting, not upwards or downwards, but inwards, into the space where dreams float like clouds and the world is undefined. Before she closed her eyes completely, the mermaid whispered, "When you wake, you will remember only peace. But we will remember you and guide you from afar." Aurora smiled and let go into sleep. "When you wake, you will remember only peace. But we will remember you and guide you from afar." Aurora smiled and let go into sleep. The song of the mermaid lulled her deeper and deeper, until she was no longer aware of where her body ended and the water began. And slowly she realized that the hum of the ocean was, in fact, the hum of the motor in her father's boat, and the sun was setting, and it was time to return to the shore. Aurora stirred and opened her eyes. She was curled up in a blanket, her hair damp with sea mist, and she realized that she had been dreaming. She gazed down and felt something cool and smooth in her palm, and uncurled her fingers to reveal a small pearly shell resting in her palm. Aurora's father glanced over and smiled, unaware that his daughter had travelled to a kingdom beneath the waves and met a friend who had sang her to sleep. And far below the surface, a shimmer of red and green passed the boat once more and moved through the quiet water. What a lovely dream, thought Aurora, as she smiled to herself, the voice of the mermaid still playing in her mind. She felt at peace, as though someone or something was looking out for her.